Hello, chat. Good evening. We've got well, I'm sure you can hear now. There's a second dog in here that wants Clyde and very upset right now. Um, Clyde, I'm gonna have to set you down now. He's just like, get me away from this fucking dog, bro. He's like, get me away. Yes, guys, we have Bonbon for the next week. Hold on, let me see if I can set Clyde down, see if I can pick her up. She's mainly upset that Clyde's up here, but let me see if I can switch him out. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. Hold on. All right, Bonbon, come here. Bonbon. All right, they're fucking around. Never mind. Oh well. It's oh well. Oh well, chat. I tried. I tried. Clay's like, put me down, fat man, and then he runs off. It's like, well, that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help anybody. Um, what is this here? Oh yes, yes. I am aware, sweetheart. Is Clyde a Jew? No, no. Clyde is not Jewish. Clyde is not impressed. Yeah, Clyde is not happy. Well, because Bonbon's been here since like 6 o'clock. Bonbon's been like basically on Clyde's head. Remember, Clyde's almost 7 years old, I think. Yeah. Oh, hold on, wait. Clyde's about 7. He's an old man. And Bonbon's like only 6 months old, I think. So she's all ready to go, and he's like, I want to be left alone when he's deciding to play. So Robin says, oh, well, stream's over. Yes. All right, guys, but welcome to the show. It is a chilly December night. Episode 195. Remember, chat, the big goal is 200. So see if we can get there. Let's see if we get there. Yeah, Styx, Hex, and Hammer did get arrested. Very, very, I mean, like that's going to take some looking into. Russell Greer has spun out of control. There is some big new filing in the Ethan Klein H3H3 against the Snark Reddits case. There's also an update in the Smash JT and Alyssa Mercanti thing. We'll do that tomorrow night. We'll kind of hit all those up tomorrow night because there's a lot to talk about. But anyways, yes, guys, welcome to the show. It is Thursday, so a lot of stuff to talk about. Some of these things are funny. Some of these things are serious. And we got a little bit of a good mix today. We got a bit of a good mix. Axe is finally a qualified streamer to listen to tonight. Yeah, I'm sure qualified. Qualified being an idiot. Anyways, welcome everybody. Oh, hold on. I think I got her. I think I got Bonbon. Hold on, chat. All right, well, I get it to get her and she just runs off. So it's like, fuck you too. Fuck you too, Bonbon. We're not doing this. Oh, yeah. So let's see here. You're gonna go back to playing Quake. Let's see here. What else we got? Kung Fu Fish says, I vaguely remember an old ass movie where 3 white girls were tricked into carrying drugs at an Indonesian airport and they get completely fucked up in prison. Like one of them dies, I think. It's called Broke Down Palace, I think is what you're thinking of. It's Indonesia or somewhere down there. Yeah, and you don't do drug trafficking in Asia. It's very fucking dangerous. So, yes. Hold on here. What'd somebody say? Seriously? You own Bonbon at this point? We do not. We do not. Bonbon's very worried about her boyfriend. It says Ag Biochemist has been here 32 months. Well, yeah. Yeah. Sweet Tooth Fairy says, will you kindly cover the Charlie Kirk murderers trial? Of course. Of course we're going to cover Tyler Robinson's trial. 100 fucking percent. And I just didn't have a chance to watch the stream, the hearing today, but we're gonna go through all that stuff at a point here coming up, maybe on Saturday, something like that. That's probably what I'm thinking here. So the Bonbon Towers are also... Hey, any of the dog towers could be solo endeavors. Laney, Clyde, Bonbon, Louie. You can do any of those on your own. She's licking my finger again. Come on, Bonbon. Yes, and apparently apparently JFG Jean-Francois is now Jean-Francois Garapi, MD. Oh, all right. Let's keep going. All right. You thought it was Singapore does a death penalty for drug trafficking. Everywhere in Asia is the death penalty for drug trafficking, except for like Japan. But in Japan, like they'll fuck you up just for transporting in like hash and marijuana. No, all of Asia is dangerous to do drug trafficking in. Even places like Laos and Cambodia, where all the poppies are grown. You don't want to get in trouble, man. Stay away from that stuff. Stay away from that stuff. So, yes, CLYDE. Yes, there we go. Oh. All right. So let's get to some of these comments here real quick. Unhung Hero for $5 says, I'm here, but not queer. EDW Raptor for $5 says, I'm here, but queer. Which, okay. Unhung Hero for 10 subs. Let's go tonight, guys. Let's go. And get to start us off with an Right, let's get to the rest of these real quick. Unhung Hero says for $2, imagine being a Nazi and a foamer during World War II. You know, what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. And then Nick Kreuzer has been a member for 20 months. Thank you for being here. He says, N. Oh, chat. Oh, chat. Oh, chat. All right. So I think it's time to get started. It's time to get going. Oh, I forgot to mention, guys, we are live tonight on Rumble as well. Rumble is ready to go. I beat DSP's goal already. Well, you know, everybody does. Everybody does. I don't have goals. Unlike DSP, I've never had goals. And it's never just do the thing. Just do the thing and let it take care of itself. The Saturday stream will, in fact, not happen. How do you know that? How do you know that? Well, anyways, guys, let's get started. I think everybody's here. But yeah, we are live tonight on Kick. We are live tonight on Rumble and here on YouTube. So let's get into this. Seller says you literally have a goal up now. I think the idea that we're going to make a Bonnie Blue and Johnny Somali porn is not necessarily like a real thing. I think that's a bit of a joke there. I think it's a bit of a joke. I think you could tell. All right. All right, guys. Well, you know what? We'll start out tonight off. We'll start off with kind of the big thing for the week. Like, I mean, this is huge. You guys may not think it is, but it is pretty important. And it is Kilmar Abrego Garcia or Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. I don't know if I said it right, whatever. And as you guys may remember him, he is the Maryland dad who was fleeing from the Crunchwrap Supreme gangs as they chased him around through Central America. But this is him, if you don't remember. So remember, he was illegally sent to El Salvador, spent like probably 2.5 months in CCOT. Illegally, because remember, he was never given a proper deportation order. He still had the holder. He was not allowed to be deported, yet he was still sent, which once again was a violation of his due process. He was supposed to be sent somewhere, and before that had to happen, he had to have his hearing. So he was brought back. I mean, you say with an authentic Maryland accent, a Baltimoreese accent. Well, that is actually a thing. Anyways, this is him, and we talked about him before. Now, he was brought back. He was then charged in Tennessee for human trafficking, which who knows if that's really actually going to be a charge that works at the end of the day. I feel like they're kind of fishing for that one. Feels like it was kind of awful, kind of garbage, but hey, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. But anyways, he has been challenging things in the District of Maryland under a habeas corpus petition. And that's something that's been ongoing for quite a while now. And that was actually, there was a final, well, not really a final, but basically the judge in this one got involved and kind of dropped the hammer on the DOJ and ICE and DHS. So anyways, this is what happened today. This is a certified hood single. Certified hood classic. Fresh. So District Maryland, it is Kilmar Abrego Garcia versus Kristi Noem et al. Remember Kristi Noem as the head of the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, that's what she has here. So this is, once again, he was asking for a writ of habeas corpus to release him from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE detention. Now, she is saying that he has been detained wrongfully, wrongful detention in El Salvador, which it was wrongful. They shouldn't have sent him. They should have brought him back. He has been redetained again without lawful authority. For this reason, she is ordering his immediate release. Now, we're going to get through all of this. Yes, he is from El Salvador, and at 16 years old, he came here to avoid persecution by the notorious gang Barrio 18, the evil Crunchwrap gang. For a long time, he lived in Maryland, but in 2019, after a brief encounter with the police, ICE took custody of him and commenced removal proceedings. At that hearing, he asked the immigration judge, which is not an Article 3 judge, for 3 kinds of relief from removal. He wanted withholding of removal under the Convention Against Torture. We talked about this. He wanted statutory withholding of removal provided. And 3, he wanted asylum. Okay? So statutory withholding removal shields a citizen from removal to a particular country if he demonstrates more than likely or not his life or freedom would be threatened in that country because of his race, religion, nationality, membership, or particular social group, or political opinion. Likewise, the statutory withholding, the CAT withholding, the Convention Against Torture one, shields non-citizens from being removed if it demonstrates they are more likely than not would be tortured if removed to the proposed country of removal. And then asylum is the legal protection for anybody who is unable or unwilling to, or is unable or unwilling to avail themselves of the protection of that country because of persecution or a well-founded fear of persecution on account of their membership in a particular group. So you can seek asylum, and just like so in the Cold War, defectors would seek asylum. So those are the 3 things he asked for. Also, is there nobody over at Rumble? I thought it was started. It should be up, chat. Chinny says it doesn't say gang affiliation. Social group is gang affiliation. That would be a social group. I'm not saying he isn't a gang, but I'm saying a social group would be there. It's a group of people that are not familial or governmental, so that means they're social in nature. At the evidentiary hearing, he was testified and found credible. The judge granted him statutory withholding of removal and denied the remaining request. Okay. So as this goes on, his concession, ultimately he was an El Salvador national who entered the U.S. without lawful permission, and they found his removability to be established by clear and convincing evidence. But nothing suggests that he had to be removed to El Salvador. In fact, the withholding decision twice erroneously suggested the stated country removal was sought relief was Guatemala. And we talked about this before, you guys. People were saying, I know we talked about this, like, oh, it only said Guatemala. And I think even Robert Gavea, you guys are saying like Robert Gavea or somebody was saying like that's all that matters. Like, no, I'm sure that was clearly a typo because he clearly was in El Salvador. He can't go back there is what he's saying. And they go on to further show, though, that DHS has failed to carry their burden to show there are changed circumstances in Guatemala that will result in his life not being threatened. So they point out, like, it's not working. The withholding decision also included a separate order that did not command removal to El Salvador or anywhere else. So what is the order actually meaning? Well, his asylum is denied. His application for withholding of removal is granted, and the Convention Against Torture claim is denied. So that is what's happened here. So remember, of those three things we were looking at, the withholding for the Convention Against Torture didn't happen. The asylum didn't happen, but the statutory withholding did happen. So that is what we're dealing with here. That is what we're dealing with. So for the next 6 years, he lived in Maryland. But in March, he was driving along with his son in his car, and they pulled him over and arrested him. Then 3 days later, and yes, this is the problem here, they forcibly expelled him, which is a correct, you might say it's inflammatory, but it's what they did. Along with 252 other Venezuelan and Salvadoran nationals to El Salvador, where they were detained in CCOT. While at CCOT, the men were systemically beaten and tortured, which I don't know if that's true, but hey. Remember, people thought there was like a fucking murder pit out behind CCOT. Like, people were looking at the satellite saying like, oh my God, they're murdering people here. Sweet Tooth, I'll get to that question in a second. Hold on here. I need to move. Hold on, chat. Got to move this over here. Hold on, chat. There we go. All right. Sorry to move some screens around. So in response, he filed a suit in this court and separately moved for an injunction to secure his release from CCOT. They say in April, the court granted relief, ordering to facilitate and effectuate his return to the United States. Now, remember, that went all the way up. What does facilitate and effectuate mean? And then it says, within days, the United States Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court affirmed the order as modified to command the facilitation of the return. Remember, this became a whole issue of what could you argue, what couldn't you argue, to ensure that it would have been had as he had not properly been sent to El Salvador. And that's the one that got all the way to the top. So in the ensuing weeks, respondents refused to facilitate his release or his return. Well, they worked on it. Once again, people can bitch about whether or not it was done at the time speed they wanted, but whatever. On June 6th, the respondents paroled him to the United States after securing a federal indictment, and that's under scrutiny for vindictive and selective prosecution, which, once again, though, I mean, if he did the crime, he did the crime. Once in criminal custody after several hearings, he got released on stringent conditions of supervision. Then from there, yes, immediately they would take him into custody. And what happened? Well, he immediately went to Maryland and stayed in Maryland. He showed up there, and he went to the Baltimore field office, and he was told that they were going to initiate third country removals, and he had 72-hour notice. Well, remember, he got, and the Supreme Court has even said, you need a little more notice and time than that. You need enough time to properly be able to file something. And that's something the Supreme Court has stated. You can't just show up with somebody's ICE facility the day of and say, hey, guess who's going to El Salvador today? And it's not me. No, you need to give them proper time. Meanwhile, during the case, Costa Rica offered to grant residency as a refugee. That's something where the government of Costa Rica agreed to take him. The next day, he left the detention center in Tennessee, and he was told to appear in Baltimore. They told them that they were going to, I said, we're going to take him to Uganda. And remember, they were saying, but he doesn't speak the language there. The language in Uganda is English, which is always hilarious. He responded immediately that fear of sent to Uganda, he would face persecution, torture, and ultimate refoulement. And guys, I've mentioned this before. We talked about with things in Ukraine. Refoulement is the process of being forcibly returned. That is an actual term of like refugees being forcibly returned. So like in Europe, all the people who have fled Ukraine, especially all the military-age males, which the Ukrainian military so desperately needs right now, if they were to be rounded up and sent back to Ukraine, that would be refoulement. That is actually could be considered a crime against humanity in certain situations. But if he got sent to Uganda, he would face persecution and torture. Why? Is it because they're black? Why are you saying that about them? Uganda is a good, wholesome country. He also separately notified ICE, writing Costa Rica was a country I want to be removed to. Well, ultimately, I said he's being processed for removal to Uganda instead of Costa Rica. He then turned around and contended that Uganda violates his rights under the INA, and that the third-party removal deprives him of procedural and substantive due process. And it goes on and on and on. Here, and the court set a briefing schedule for all this, and they wanted to challenge all of this here. So they say in the days that followed, they took no steps to process him for removal to Uganda, ostensibly because of his claimed fear of persecution and torture in that country. Which, why the fuck weren't they doing it, though? Instead, they notified him that they would send him to Eswatini. And really, that's also formerly known as Lesotho. And then he immediately asserted his removal for there on similar grounds. Very racist of him that every African country he's scared of. Within days, they learned of the notice and it bit back. Their spokesperson announced the government had not received any communication regarding this and didn't have any agreement. And the respondents also didn't do anything to assuage the fears that he would receive similar refugee status or be protected. Which, if they haven't fucking done it, then yeah, that looks really fucking retarded. Why would you say it and that not follow up? I mean, Jesus Christ. Just talk to the government and say, yes, you can go back. Why can't we just do that? If we're going to fucking afuera the guy, let's afuera him. But they're not going to afuera him. Yes, why does this man have enemies everywhere? I don't know. Why does everyone hate you? In all honesty, though, seriously, if we're going to afuera the guy, fucking afuera him and get it over with. Why are they dicking around? Well, we're going to get to that. So having heard nothing, he asked the court to order the targeted discovery, meaning limited discovery on that purpose, to Uganda or Eswatini in lieu of Costa Rica. The DHS, for their part, asked to continue the hearing. The court converted that, and then at the conference, at the in-person pre-trial, the court tried to assess whether they had made any real effort towards removing him. You know, it quickly became clear they had not, which is fucking awesome. So what the fuck are they doing? What are they doing? They could say no more than Eswatini has been selected. Okay, but they had no information about whether they had even asked that place about it. Nor did they have any further details about efforts made to secure removal to Costa Rica. And this was so even though Abrego Garcia reaffirmed he would depart this afternoon for Costa Rica, this obviating the need for any further hearings or adjudication of this petition. Well, he even agreed, I'll go home. I'll go home. Or I won't go home, but I'll go to Costa Rica. It's like well, he was willing to afuera himself. Come here, Mama. Hold on, chat. I might be able to grab her. Come here, Mama. Come on. Come on. Jump, Dingleberry. Stupid dog. Come here. Hey, you can jump. Come on. I've seen you jump. Okay, well, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. I've watched you jump. Come on. Yeah. Dipshit. She just stands back there and is like, well, I'm like, I'm not chasing you anymore. Yes, bork, bork, bork. They say, because respondents had done nothing other than send emails to the lawyers, they asked the court to rule on the claims here, which, fair enough. They haven't actually fucking done anything. So ultimately, the court ordered respondents to produce a witness or testify about what steps have actually been taken. The court held the hearing. They produced one witness, a deputy assistant director of enforcement and removal. It says, contrary to the order, he's not prepared to discuss at all Costa Rica's offer. He candidly admitted he had not even seen Costa Rica's correspondence. And then who the fuck has? And he had no knowledge about whether the response had done anything to commence removal proceedings to Costa Rica. As Uganda, he testified that they had asked Uganda to take him, but it ultimately said no. Very racist of them that they won't even take him. As to Eswatini, They said they had not formally asked him to accept him until the Wednesday night before the Friday hearing. It's like nothing like doing your homework at the last minute. Not like doing your homework at the last minute. He also reported, though, that even though Eswatini said no, and they said no, the conversations weren't over. So now they're just fucking around. So they said they confirmed the night before the hearing that, hey, we're going to remove him to Ghana. But once the Ghana designation became public, the Ghanaian foreign minister, or is it Ghanaian? I think so, immediately announced that Ghana was not accepting him. Very racist. They won't accept a strong Latinx man. That is so wrong of them. He cannot be deported to Ghana, and that his position has been directly and unambiguously conveyed to the U.S. authorities. It's a good fucking job. So he confirmed that he knew of no impediment to remove him to Costa Rica, including no statement from respondents that effectuating such removal would run contrary to interest. He further attested that he had been told nothing about why they had not processed his removal to Costa Rica. So, yes, he'll show you D-Way. So they emphasized that his continued detention must be for purposes other than facilitating removal, because if they want to remove him to Costa Rica, you'll hear no objection from us. They can put him on the next plane to Costa Rica. So they acknowledged the only legitimate ground to hold him was to effectuate removal, which, yeah, it's the only reason they can hold him. And yet they had no answer as to why they couldn't send him to Costa Rica, which, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Best they can do is stipulate that Costa Rica is on the table if Eswatini falls through. Well, then there you go. It's all done. So the court announced it would reach its Zavidas claims expeditiously. But before they could rule, they then said on October 24th they were going to send him to fucking Liberia. Liberia evidently agreed to accept them on a strictly humanitarian and temporary basis, with promises not to persecute, torture, refoul them. Well, I mean, it is Liberia. So they had a status conference for that, during which they requested one hearing to address the remaining counts. The DHS posed no objection and said they would move separately for this court to resolve its temporary protection. And the court allowed supplemental briefing and all this. In their subsequent filings, they justified removing him because it's the only state willing to accept him. They told the court that Costa Rica does not wish to receive Kilmar any longer, and that Costa Rica would not simply accept him. So thus, they can hardly be at fault for not moving to a country that refuses to accept them. Well, it's a little late at that point. So oddly, and they submitted a declaration from a guy named Cantu. And they say that, the declaration and moved to seal the evidentiary hearing entirely, which that is a little weird. This represented a sharp departure from their prior practice to seal only what is necessary to protect diplomatic communications. They also did not attach any communication from Costa Rica reflecting any rescission or modification. Meaning, guys, rescission means revoking the offer, rescinding it. Rescinding it and rescission, that's the... So, let's see here. So they quickly asked to make Cantu available for testimony. The court granted that motion. The court also unsealed the relevant filings and ordered the DHS and their lawyers to prepare the witness in good faith to answer questions. At the hearing, it became evident on November 20th, it became hearing once again. They defied the court's orders. They simply refused to prepare and produce a witness with knowledge or testify in a meaning way. Cantu candidly admitted, for example, he had no prior involvement in the case and spent approximately 5 minutes preparing to testify. He also shared that none of the respondents' attorneys had discussed this order with them or showed him the contents, nor did he understand the purpose of his testimony, which, yeah, there we go. Send to Abu Dhabi if it's good enough for normal. Oh, you turned green. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Suffer. Then at the hearing, the DHS showcases ignorance about the content of the declaration. As the pointed questions of DHS's counsel made clear, his lack of knowledge is planned and purposeful. So, and this is DHS attorney saying the final sentence. Do you see where it says the word certain understandings? It's like, yes, I found it. I do. What are the certain understandings in that last reference sentence? I don't know. So, what are the contingencies in the last sentence? I don't know. What are the interim developments? I don't know. Which, Jesus Christ. So ultimately, the calculated effort to take Costa Rica off the table backfired. Within 24 hours, Costa Rica communicated to multiple news sources that its offer is and has always been firm, unwavering, and unconditional. If we have a place to afuera him, why is he still here? Let him get afuera. I know they want him to go get sent to hell or wherever shitty country we could find in Africa. Apparently, it's not going to work. Just send him to fucking Costa Rica. God damn it. Afuera the fucking guy. You know, Jesus Christ. And he says, my letter dated is the official position of our government. Respondents have sat mum since. So his requested relief, his arguments in favor of release are quite simple. He contends his detention was without lawful authority because there's no final order of removal authorizing as much under third country removal statutes. So nothing's been finalized, and that's fair. Nothing's been finalized. So you guys are saying we need to go. Yes! And Christy Noah and them are fucking around. Alternatively, he maintains that DHS's refusal to remove him to Costa Rica amid constant threats of removal to African countries that express no or limited desire can only be construed as punitive and contrary to the purposes of ICE detention, which, yeah, sounds like it. They've got enough afuera for him. Edie Rev says hello from Rumble. Thank you. No one wants him out. Well, then they can fucking get rid of him. Right now, send him to Costa fucking Rica. I get it. They want to send him somewhere where it's shitty and nasty and dangerous and he'll get butt fucked to death by the wildlife. Guess what? It's not going to work. You got to go to Costa Rica. He doesn't get to stay in America. That's the win. I just don't understand. Yeah, it's clear they don't want Costa Rica for some reason not being stated, which I don't understand either. So they talk about, well, the DHS says they don't have the jurisdiction to reach the petition at all. I disagree. They have the right to habeas corpus. Everybody does. Because you might not be illegal. And they say you're illegal. So you would have the right to habeas in that position. So they point out that the INA, the Immigration and Naturalization Act, bars the court from hearing three kinds of claims arising from the action of an attorney general to commence proceedings, adjudicate cases, or execute removal orders against non-citizens. He's not challenging any of that. He's challenging the execution of a removal order. There's no removal order. There is no removal order. He's contending it's unlawful because there is no removal order, and that's correct. If there's no removal order, then what the fuck are we doing? Therefore, his request for immediate release cannot touch upon the execution of removal order if no such order exists. Yeah, easy enough. And this is going to get appealed, and I know what the Court of Appeals is going to say. It's what I would say. Just fucking send him to port, do a fucking order. Like you say you're going to do it, then you don't fucking do it. Send him to the French side of St. Martin. Okay, well, that's bad. That's rough. So they say for similar reasons, none of this bars any of this, and I agree. There is no order. He's not challenging a final order of removal. He's arguing it's an unlawful detention because there's no order. Yeah. They're just holding him indefinitely at this point. If he was not to, there's been nothing that's happened. It's not as though if he just sat there and didn't have attorneys and they all went home, he would get sent out. No, at this rate, nothing's happening. He would just sit in jail forever. Yeah, why are they playing fuck games with this guy? Yeah. Just afuera. But they won't. So ultimately, and yes, there is no final order of removal. And I agree. There is no final order of fucking removal. Just fucking do it. And they point out that they have the merit, they have the right to hear this. The court retains jurisdiction because it's a habeas petition. So the merits, and he says that there's no order of removal exist. They point out that they say to understand why the court explains what a removal order is, it is not as a matter of law. And next, why the court finds no such order exists. Last, the court discusses what it is. But anyways, here you go. What is this? What is a removal order? So they can remove. Such power is tantamount to an order of deportation, refiled as an order concluding they are deportable or ordering deportation. An order of removal must be explicit in its directives that a non-citizen is to be removed into an identified country. Further, when an immigration judge issues a decision granting it, the decision must include an explicit order of removal. It's because when a non-citizen receives protection from removal to an identified country, the removal order takes on special importance. And they point out that it's important, like it's yes, in an order to withhold removal, there must be first an order of removal that can be withheld. And second, because a non-citizen protected by an order of withholding may be removed, the judge must issue a final order of removal to authorize DHS to effect such removal if a third country is identified. And it says, thus, the order of removal must identify a country or countries in the alternative, which the removal may in the first instance be made. And there's no removal order. So when he was first sent to El Salvador, the court struggled to understand the legal authority for even seizing him. Well, I don't think I disagree with that. I agree they have every right to seize him, but what was the order going to be? So the court ultimately said, in the first case said, what about the removal order? And they were told we can't find one. Okay, well, get a fucking removal order and fucking remove him. He could still be removed. And they say, I don't have an order. There's none of the record. And since that time, they've never produced an order of removal, despite hinging much of their arguments on its existence. Twice, the DHS sponsored testimonies officials whose job to remove orders, and they candidly admitted never having seen one for him. Okay, well, then there you go. He goes. And they say, based upon many years of experience, you know what a removal order looks like, right? Have you seen a final order in this case? And he's like, nope. And he says, I've not seen a piece of paper that represents a final order of removal for him. And he's like, nope. So the court concludes no order exists. And the DHS doesn't contend otherwise. Instead, they urge the court to construe the withholding decision as an implied order of removal. Well, that no. Or one that exists by operation of law. That's a tough one to make there. Immigration law is very much on have the boxes been checked. Immigration law is very mechanical in its application. As we saw with the Mahmoud Khalil. It's very mechanical in its application here. So they essentially argue the immigration judge would not grant the removal absent a valid order, which, I mean, that makes sense, but that's not enough. And they say, while this argument may have some intuitive appeal, it belies both the facts of this case and the long-established precedent, which commands against collapsing two legally distinct orders, the removal holding and the withholding of removal into one. And they say the October 10th withholding decision is unambiguously not an order of removal. It does not order Abrego removed to any country or designate removal as required. So he is not have an official removal order right now. And it says nowhere in the holding decision does the judge order removed to El Salvador or anywhere else. Nor can the court conclude that it is implicit. The Fourth Circuit, where Maryland is, says clear, when the immigration judge grants a withholding and removal, an explicit order must be included in the decision. And once again, that identifies the country to which you may be removed. They say in this one, the designation authorizes DHS to effect removal if a third country is identified. Well, has a third country been identified? Not yet. And they say that, and notice, they're not saying that he can't be removed. It's just saying right now the order doesn't exist. Well, get a fucking order. Have a motherfucking removal. And they point out that, once again, as the DHS suggests, withholding orders and order removal would also contravene Supreme Court precedent directing otherwise. And they talk about a case, Nasrallah versus Barr. That's Bill Barr, the Attorney General. There, the court held that for jurisdictional purposes under the Immigration and Naturalization Act, a final order cannot merge with the withholding order. And they say that a relief under the Convention Against Torture cannot be construed as a final order because withholding does not conclude the citizen is deportable or ordering deportation. Rather, withholding means the non-citizen may not be removed from the designated country of removal, at least until conditions change. Well, I mean, I'd argue shit has changed in El Salvador, but he still needs a removal order. He still needs a removal order, and he doesn't have one. So there you go. Fucking ICE fucking around. So there you go, chat. He doesn't even go here. Yeah, but the government's not doing anything to effectuate that. So, yeah, there you go. So this goes on. They keep pointing out that this shit is not being done. The detention without a removal order violates the INA and due process. It does. Why are you holding? So we're going to remove them. Okay, when are you going to remove them? We don't know. When? I don't know. Well, there you go. So don't get mad at the judge. Don't get mad at Kilmar. This is the government fucking it up. James Reed says released to where? He's going to be released into the United States until they can figure out where they get a removal order and then where they're going to send him. So there you go. And they say, it says, only third country removal proceedings upon the issuance of a final order of removal. All right. Well, we don't have one. Without a final order of removal, there's no lawful basis to detain and remove a non-citizen. Yeah. So there you go. What is going on with all the deportations, Neo Dark Matter? No, just this, guys. For some reason, they can't get their shit together. Gun Fussy says, how are we supposed to deport anyone if they can just say they don't want to go to a country? Because we have laws in place say you can't do anything where people fear torture. But remember, he said, I'll go to Costa Rica. Costa Rica will take me today. And the DHS said no. So he almost flared himself. So, yeah. And they point out the Supreme Court has been called upon to set due process limits of prolonged immigration detention. And they said that ultimately, if you read the immigration laws allowing indefinite detention, would raise a constitutional concern. Yes. And there's a reasonable time limit on the detentions. So in that case, Zavidas, the court said there's a 6-month period of post-removal detention as sufficient to record time to get a suitable third-party country without running afoul of somebody's Fifth Amendment due process rights. So, yeah. So what do? Well, ultimately, ICE needs a purpose to effectuate a lawful removal. Well, he's been held without a removal order and thus without lawful authority. So guess what? He's done. He goes home. Why should he get a vacation to Costa Rica, though? Well, I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, like, nowhere else. Like, nobody's actually talking to anyone. Shit Dickistan or wherever you want to send him to. Okay, we'll send them there, and then nobody calls them to figure it out. So that's the problem here. And the detention can only be for the period necessary to effectuate and secure the removal. Yeah, there's no reasonable likelihood he's going to be removed because nobody's been set up. And it just goes on and on and on here. And they said that the detention exists for the purpose of securing third country removal. And it says, you know what? That's it. And respondents are not to hold the citizen based on whim, caprice, or like motive. And they say detention cannot be used as punishment. These are civil, not criminal. They must be non-punitive in purpose and effect, meaning it can't be important. Yeah. This is an awesome tower chat. You guys did such a good job. So they point out because there's no statutory authority to remove him, absent a removal order, his removal cannot be considered reasonably foreseeable. And although they may get it right, they have not as of today, which is a big fucking monster kill. They can do it. They just have to fucking do it right. Notice, she's not saying he can't be removed. She's just saying they haven't done it right. And yeah, they haven't done it right. So thus, the state of detention cannot continue. And they say his detention since he was released from criminal custody cannot be squared with any purpose. You know, if they wish to remove him, they could have done so as early as August to Costa Rica. They point out, though, you know what? Even if I gave him a measure of deference, discretion cannot explain what happened in the meantime. Yes, they serially notified him that while he sat in ICE custody of his expulsion to countries, but none of those countries were ever viable options, and at least 2 had not even been asked. Which, yeah, if they haven't, then yeah. TX47 says, why does Costa Rica, a U.S. Costa Rica is not a U.S. territory. Costa Rica, no, not Puerto Rico, Costa Rica. So, yeah, no, it's not. Costa Rica is not a U.S. territory. And at the same time, they haven't taken any steps to remove him to the country which had offered to take him, Costa Rica. So if they haven't done shit at all for anybody anywhere, yeah, this is all being ignored. Instead, they found Liberia. This time when the court sought information to assess the validity of the claims, they did not just stonewall. They affirmatively misled. They announced Liberia is the only country available because Costa Rica doesn't want to receive him. Well, Costa Rica apparently never wavered in their commitment to receive him. Well, then good. Send him to fucking Costa Rica. Just send him there. Get him the fuck out. So ultimately, and they all reflect whatever purpose behind his detention, it was not for the basic purpose. Timely third country removal. And yes, his due process challenge or removal order, it's valid. It's valid. You know, they point out that there was not meaningful review of his claims of persecution, torture, or refoulement. Remember, they talked about the JGG case. You have to give people time and notice to appeal stuff and challenge things. So they said, as before, you know, they can choose constitutionally permissible means of doing this. But because they haven't done anything and there's no lawful removal order, his relief is proper. And they say that, you know, had they fucking actually done things right, they might support that he could be held longer, but they fucked it up. So he is to be released from ICE custody immediately thereafter. Receive instruction from pretrial services office as to installation on the release conditions previously imposed in his criminal case. So yeah, there you go. There you go. Easy enough. They just got to fucking do it. They just got to fucking do it, chat. And they haven't fucking done it. I mean, you can bitch and moan and piss and shit about it, but yeah. January 6, 2.0 says, no, bringing him back, it was a mistake. No, he had to be brought back. He had to be brought back. Regardless of what it was, he was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador. Even if there was an order in place, he was not allowed to be sent to El Salvador. That had to be lifted first. But now he doesn't even have a fucking order. And now it's never been sent anywhere. So guess what? He has to stay until that gets fixed. Remember, just fill in the blanks. It's a Mad Lib. You literally just do the things and it gets done. It won't even, like, if they did it the right way, it would be impossible for him to challenge it. But they haven't fucking done it. Just a flare of the guy. So now they have to find him again. Well, if he disappears, then yeah, that would kind of fuck everything up for him. But no, he's smart. He's going to stick around. He's going to be available. I'm pretty sure he's on electronic monitoring anyway. You know, he'll deal with this shit in Tennessee, and then at the end of the day, they can always deport him, but they won't fucking do it. David Schrayer says, you answered my previous question. Well, there you go. So. Fungus, he says the El Salvador thing is a scam. Why is the lawyer lied to the court not being punished? Which lawyer? Which lawyer? I take Robert Gavea's point that it wasn't a mistake. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. It clearly was El Salvador, and it was the Papusa gangs, the Crunchwrap Supreme gangs, which were the threat. Either way, at this point, it doesn't matter, because here's the big thing. If there's no fucking removal order, then it doesn't matter anyway, and that's moot. Because it doesn't matter that you can't send them to El Salvador or Guatemala. It doesn't matter because there's no order saying you're allowed to remove them anyway. So step one hasn't even been accomplished. Get removal order. Step two would be then deal with the withholding to a third country. Third-party country. We haven't even done that. There is, like, step one hasn't even been completed, chat. So, yeah. There we go. Good job, DOJ. Good job, Christy Nome. Good job. Let's see. Well, there goes Bonbon looking for somebody. So. EDW Raptor says, can I be the director in the goal endeavor? Ag will be the cameraman and Maddie B will be the fluffer. Sure. Stephen Cooper says N. Amateur Iconoclast says I. Richard Gruber for $5 says I. Want the AK drum there. Always like the ski mask. Very timely for this time of the year. Great Loner's been a member for 3 months. He says G. EDW Raptor decides for an I. Unhung Hero decides for an I. Which I guess we're not going to get the tower right, chat. We tried though. January 6 2.0 says, as a enjoyer of the grand guided tours through the January 6 capital, I must follow my fellow Q-tards in joining our African queen against Dim Fool's Graper Catboy forces. Pick a side, Sean. Charlie and Yakub will be avenged. Well, wait, why is Tim Pool? Tim Pool's not aligning with Nick Fuentes. I don't think. When did that happen? But anyways, January 6 2.0 for $20. Thank you. Another gifting 5 subs. Thank you, another. Okay. All right, here. Now let's get back to these. Swaytooth Fairy says, okay, serious question. How does an illegal alien have a right to due process? Well, think about it this way. All it takes is the government to say you're here illegally. But let's say they have it wrong. You have a right to due process to challenge that. You have a right to challenge and say, well, why are you holding me? And does that mean they could hold him forever and just keep him here forever? That's a bit of a fucked up option. Like, if our thing is we have to find the right shitty country to send him to, well, that may never happen. Does that mean he stays in jail forever? Even the Supreme Court has said, yeah, we're not on board with that. And I think even today with the Supreme Court, you would probably lose 8-1, if not 9-0. Remember, JGG was 9-0. And they said that people are entitled to due process. Like, they're like, that part is clear. There is due process. So you are entitled to it. It's the same reason why if you don't get due process as an illegal or a non-citizen, that means you don't really have a Fourth Amendment right. You don't really have a Fifth Amendment right. Like, if you happen to be, a tourist here, the police could beat you with a fucking phone book to get a confession out of you. And there's no Fifth Amendment right. There's no Sixth Amendment right. Like, you do have some rights. You do have some rights. Yeah, but ultimately, he has the right to make them show what's going on here. And it's easy enough for the government to do. Get the removal order and fucking remove them. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, chat. This is a fucking own goal by the government. This is an own goal by the government. Adam says, once again, Sean is right. Nothing truly happens. Yeah, it's not. It's 10 after nothing happens. So, Kathy, your realtor in Jersey. Guys, remember, if you guys are in Jersey, remember, New Jersey, you need a realtor, buy, sell, lease, or anything like that. You want a life estate subject to complete divestment, or a life estate subject to conditions subsequent. Go see Kathy for $10. Kathy says, did you see the DoorDash driver was charged? Yes, I did. I did not have a chance to read her indictment yet. But yes, she got charged, and it's, I don't feel bad for her. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. But yeah, she got charged with felony and lawful surveillance. When she posted up that naked guy. And good for her. And we'll be going through that as we get a little more information. I don't have any more on that yet, but I will be doing that. So, but yes, Kathy, thank you for the super chat. Then Graham says the Granite Act in Wyoming. What is that? Granite Act. Well, apparently that popped up right away. The Granite Act. Okay, it aims to protect companies from foreign censorship orders. Not yet been enacted into law. Oh, yeah, but you know what? I mean, so the Granite Act is a free speech bill that says foreign countries can't censor you. Yeah, but it wouldn't matter anyway, because ultimately that'd be like international law and treaty law. But yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. So. Yes, that guy's peeing got doxxed. Let's see here. What is hard is Sean's not repeating himself. I know, it's very hard. It's very hard not to repeat myself. It's very hard not to repeat myself. Are illegals people, though? Yes, they are. Sean, like ICE, needs to finish the process for basic. Yes. Sweet Tooth Fairy says he's not a citizen, so how does he have constitutional rights? Well, you do have some basic rights, though. I mean, once again, does that mean the police could just search you if they want to? Does that mean you don't have a protection against cruel and unusual punishment? I mean, those are some of the questions you need to ask yourself. Is that something you're okay with? Does that mean if you are you get arrested by the police and accused of a crime, you're not entitled to counsel? Would you be allowed to hire your own counsel? If you get accused of a crime, are you entitled to confront your accuser? If you're accused of a crime, do you have the right to remain silent? And at trial, can your silence be used against you? I mean, that, like I said, when you're saying if they're not entitled to any rights, how does that work? And I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying, ask yourself those questions. Don't worry about troops being quartered in their house. I'm not worried about that one. Stardust Crusader saying the chick requested no cameras in the courtroom, and the judge said, "Oh, now you don't want to be filmed." That's pretty funny if that really happened that way. So, Patsy Man says, "How does that work? He isn't a citizen." Well, yeah, except the Supreme Court disagrees with you, so you're not going to change that. It's kind of like changing birthright citizenship. Supreme Court ain't going to go along with what Trump wants to do, even if it's right. So, but I thought the Constitution only applied to citizens. No, everybody has those rights. That has never been a thing the the government, like the government's been, the Constitution's applied to everybody in terms of the rights of the base, like the Bill of Rights. Like they apply to everybody. So that is kind of there. Make the birthright thing your lock of the year. What do you mean Snorkery is getting flooded? Oh no, did Phil have a disaster happen today? Make birthright citizenship your lock of the year. Okay. The birthright citizen case is going to be like 8-1 against the Trump administration. I'm calling it now. It's my lock of the year. And if I'm wrong, we'll see. I'll eat my hat again. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Ag. I thought you meant like Phil's house was getting flooded, which that would be hilarious. All right. Right. Anyways, chat, this is a big L for the Trump administration. This is a big L for like, what the fuck are we doing? It's a big L for what the fuck we're doing here. Would Thomas be the dissent? Maybe, or maybe Alito. I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't see the Supreme Court overriding the 14th Amendment like that. Why bother even asking if you're just going to defer to them? I'm just telling you what's going to happen. So, the Big L is letting him back in the country. And no, the Big L is not getting a fucking order signed, getting him deported. Like, that's easy enough to fucking get, but they won't get it. All right. Anyway, on to another L for the Trump administration. The DOJ once again tried to get Letitia James indicted, and it did not work. So, federal grand jury again refused to indict her on Thursday. Today, guys, meaning the second time in a week. This is the third attempt to do it. And from what I understand, they only have, one more time to try again. And honestly, guys, this is how this works. If you want, and I'd rather have this, you got to get an indictment versus an information. So, is it being all political? I don't know. I don't know what's been presented to the grand jury. Who knows? But once again, shitbag lawyer Abe Lowell is once again running around in it. Yes, they love to indict Trump. And yes, once again, apparently she's not a ham sandwich. Yeah. So we'll see. But he points out that this should all be a mockery of our justice system, not the whole $500 million verdict that got overturned, and then like Judge Engoron being a big faggot. I mean, no, that wasn't it. So, so there we go. And once again, I feel no pity for the woman who campaigned on trying to go after Donald Trump so she once again could fuck herself. So we'll see what happens. And they say at the grand jury stage, you only need to convince 12 of 16 jurors that a probable cause threshold has been met. So yeah. Now this part is weird. They brought in out-of-state federal prosecutors. The ones in the Eastern had concluded the case against James was too weak to move forward, and they couldn't bring in anybody to do it. Which, once again, I think there's enough there. We'll see what happens. Nothing will happen. Yeah, she's probably going to walk once again. She's going to escape man's justice, which, hey, that's the system we live in. So she's going to walk. Well, James Comey's probably going to walk too, like I said. Even if he gets indicted at the end, they're not going to do it despite the orange man. So it's good to be when you're on the right team. You can get away with all kinds of shit. Cope and seethe and piss and shit. All those L's. Yes, the corrupt need to fear the public. Yeah, but they don't because they know you'll do nothing. So, yeah. Patsy Man says, how are they going to indict her? I don't know. Don't know at this point. Who knows? All right, guys. Moving on from there, I guess it's, we'll do another L tonight. I'll feed you guys another L real quick. This is from Trump today on True Social. And just the TLDR is this is all gay and retarded, okay? So he talks about the Democrats ignoring violent and vicious crimes of all, kinds. Talk about all the things that are gone wrong here. And they think there is, the Democrats think there's only one crime, not voting for them. So they go on here and they say Democrats choose instead to prosecute anyone that they could find that wanted safe and secure elections. The Democrats were relentless in their target of Tina Peters out in Colorado. Somebody who said we want to make our elections were fair and honest. Tina's been sitting in a Colorado prison for the crime of demanding honest elections. And he says, and this is where the bullshit happens. I am granting Tina a full pardon for her attempts to expose voter fraud in the 2020 rigged presidential election. Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. When you think about it, this sounds good. Just a little problem here, guys. Just a little bit of a problem. A little bit of a problem. And I think some of you probably already know what that problem is. It's a pretty basic problem. Pretty basic problem. The problem, just a slight structural problem. Tina Peters wasn't federally convicted of shit. She was convicted at a state level court. So guess what this means? It's literally nothing. It's completely fucking meaningless. It does nothing. Nothing, chat. You got nothing. You got a whole bucket of nothing, you guys. Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You're here because you got nothing. You got nothing in court. You don't got the bookkeeper. You got nothing. Nothing. And if you were a man, you would have done it now.
Nothing to do here. Nothing to do here. So, again, chat, another L. You got to take your L's, chat. Take your L's. You got to eat them. So, there you go. There you go. Chiopathic. Yes, Henry Cuellar. Yes. Trump pardoned a Democrat and the guy's immediately running against the Republicans. Yes. Brilliant fucking move, Trump. Brilliant fucking move. Yes. Yeah, that is fucking depressing. Chiopathic says he can dispatch Delta Force to get her out of the jail. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an acid gambit 2.0. Now, give Larry Vickers can't own a gun right now. He's under federal, and he's, his federal case. But it's going to acid gambit 2.0, guys. Raiding the Modelo prison again. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, good job, President Trump. Good job. Good job on that one. So, and yeah, actually, this is kind of fun. Is actually a pretty from Beep Beep Boop on Twitter. I don't know who you are. You know who you are. They follow me. And they're like, wow, look at this. Wow. It's fucking nothing. Pretty much. Pretty much. Oh. All right. Well, moving on from there, guys. This is kind of an interesting thing here. There was a lawsuit against a hospital. And there was a 2-week trial that went on about this. And the verdict has already happened and everything. And the $40 million verdict got tossed. And there's going to be a new trial regarding medical negligence. What is this all about? Well, there's a kid who's 6, won $25 million, and a total of $800,000 were given to her parents. They said that they didn't diagnose the baby's glucose levels. It resulted in brain damage and permanent developmental effects. So the attorney sought a new trial, arguing the jury foreperson concealed her biased opinions about our nation's healthcare system. Well, that's not all. That's really not the issue. Having the opinions and biases. No. This is the problem here. She hosts a weekly podcast called Becca Marie's Freedom Speak. I bet she sells fucking colloidal silver and methylene blue. I don't know. Is she here on YouTube? I forgot to check. I think she might be. Let's see if we can find it. I didn't think to check about this. Oh my God, it actually might be on here. Nope, I don't see it. I don't see it. So I don't know where the hell she does this podcast at. I don't know where she does it. Who really knows at this point? Who really knows? But we'll just keep going from here. It's Freedom Speak. That's why I couldn't find it. That's why it's okay. Becca Marie's Freedom Speak. No, I don't see it. Nope, I don't see it, chat. So anyway, check on Rumble. Yes, Raid Shadow Legends in the chat. Yes. So anyway, this idiot, her podcast show the long-held biases. Okay, well, they since learned that she published multiple episodes over the course of the trial, which she discussed her jury service and the trial, both during's the biggest thing. Immediately after the trial, I'm not worried about. During the trial. They took issue with her views on the COVID-19 pandemic, which she referred to as the scamdemic, and her criticism of the vaccine, which she calls the clot shot. Well, we're finding out it really does cause clots. Moderna's kind of admitting to that now. So, I need to take a fishing class sponsorship. I don't have any. One of the podcasters recorded on May 25th, about halfway through the trial, which she discussed her jury service. She also said other jurors were aware of her podcast and might be listening today. Holy Jesus Christ. Holy Jesus Christ, woman. What the fuck? Oh, she's on Rumble? Oh, okay. Let's look this up then. Rumble. Gosh, she probably has more fucking people than me. That's going to be the sad part. Oh my God. Yes, she does, chat. Here's her channel. Becca Marie's Freedom Speak. Or Freedom Speak, Becca Marie and Stella. Who's Stella? Let's see what we got here. Okay, let's see videos. No, we need the lives. Oh, she hasn't done it in a while. Oh, she must delete these after they happen. Let's see what this one is. Revitalize crowd. Okay. Hold on here. Oh, wow. She's got like a real fucking setup and everything. Chat, look at that. Did she make that using MS-DOS? Yes. Stella's probably a
live
chihuahua.
from the Freedom Speak studio on The Answer, AM 1190 KXKS Albuquerque, as well as streaming complete with video on Facebook, X, Rumble, and Instagram.
Oh, she's got a fucking radio station? Damn. Yeah, I was gonna say, is this a tranny? I think this is a troon.
This is the Revitalizer Hour with Dr. William K. Summers. Our call-in line is 50.
Anyway, so let's see here.
In the hospital in congestive heart failure, scheduled to.
They talked about this in 2021, and now Axios is coming. It's like we never said any 2 days with it. I don't.
You'll always receive great, friendly customer service, and no appointment is ever needed.
And nobody answered me. She didn't answer me, and so a few days later, somebody had spoofed her profile, created.
Well, that's a speech impediment right there. Holy shit, too. Say your ashes, you spoof, 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 spoof. Is that a Trunard Belk? Yes. East of the pre-op. You're live. Got a prostate cancer face, yes. I love that she thinks she looks like that. I know. Is that pirate software? No. Blade says that's just a New Mexico woman. Oh my god. That's awful. You think he killed the real Rebecca took her identity? Yes. That's Captain Brunel. No, it's not. Oh. So, anyway. Yes, the jurors might be listening like, oh my God. Now, the attorneys for the plaintiffs said they failed to show biased grounds. And they argued that during the jury selection, she said she posted a podcast, had opinions about healthcare. It's like, yeah, but did you really? You know, they point out jurors can have opinions, even strong opinions. But the judge granted the mistrial and vacated the jury's verdict in an October 22nd order, which this is all kind of like coming out now. Like, it's all quiet. Nobody knew about it. This is insane. So they point out her statements demonstrate that her negative views and all of this, perhaps shaped during the pandemic, were durable and continuing up through in trial. Yes, and she disputed the finding and denied she had discussed the trial during her May 25th podcast. And what does Stella say? They totally validate all the things I've ever said about how I think it's harder and harder to get a fair trial in this country these days. You validated it. Jesus. I wasn't talking about the details of the trial in that show. I was just very generalized about serving on a jury. Don't talk about it if you're on a fucking jury. Do not fucking talk about it. She said that she only talked about it after the jury returned the verdict. And she had been open and honest about her role as a conservative podcast host before she was selected as a juror. So I'm skeptical. I am skeptical of personal injury lawyers. I'm skeptical about politicians. I'm skeptical about healthcare when it gets mixed up with corporations, man. But as far as the trial goes, everything that me and the other 11 jurors did in that trial was just based on evidence and testimony provided during the trial. Well, yeah. Oh, Jesus. So, yeah. So, yeah, basically this dumbass fucked it up. Yeah, this one dumbass fucked it all up for that family. Wrestler Town says Summer, Chloe, Sophie. Don't forget Lilith. Lilith is another common one they use. This is Aaron's future pretending to be a woman while also pretending to be broadcasting on the radio. Oh! Not gonna lie, I saw Aaron reading that when we got that one thing in. That was perfect, but yes. There we go. Jesus. Oh. Pepsi Man says pick a side. Oh no. Oh, Jesus Christ, chat. This is awful. Oh. Yes, catfish alert. Oh. Jesus. That is so awful. That is awful. There we go. So, yeah. All right, guys. So moving on, something that's probably a little more based and, something that, well, We think will be important. Judges order the unsealing of more Epstein files in New York. Well, like, what does it actually mean here? Well, this is the decision and order just came out. Came out yesterday. Once again, this is a certified hood single. Here we go. So they say the recently enacted Epstein Files Transparency Act is once again, chat, that's not going to be transparent as shit. Compels the U.S. government to make public by December 19th. Remember, guys, next Friday. Certain evidentiary files. These files are subject to the instant motion sought by the government. They say, fulfilling this obligation, the government also is required to protect all of Jeffrey Epstein's victims by excluding PIIs of victims or their personal medical files, similar files of disclosure, which would be an unwarranted invasion of privacy. So the court grants, in accordance to the Epstein files, with the unequivocal right of victims to have their identity and privacy rights protected. Okay, so they talk about the legal standard, and they says the Epstein Act says now within 30 days at the date of this act, things had to be done here. Okay, well, so what is it doing here? And they says, in fact, the act states the Epstein files must be no later than 30 days. We talked about that. So grand jury materials. The act requires disclosure of the Epstein grand jury materials by requiring disclosure of all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials. All right. Cool. Section 2A clearly includes the unsealing of Epstein grand jury materials. Well, we'll see what that actually means. And it says the act supersedes the otherwise secret grand jury materials under the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, and that's correct. The Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure are subservient to federal law. They augment and fill in for federal law. Are there protective order materials? Well, we'll see. Well, there's a protective order dated July 25th, 2019, and it says all documents are, on this, including materials otherwise subject to protective order. Okay. Well, I mean, what's it going to be here? And it says the attorneys have written to the court. The court agrees that disclosure under the act can't come at the privacy and protection of sexual abuse and trafficking victims, which is fair. So clearly the safety and privacy are paramount and consistent with Section 2C1A. What's this mean? Well, stuff's supposedly going to come out. What's really going to come out, chat? It's probably going to be this. We all know what it's going to be at the end of the day. It's just going to be this. It's just going to look like this. This is going to be just nothing we can figure out. We're going to have nothing else to read. And this is what we're going to see. That's what we're going to see, basically. Telling you now, a whole bunch of nothing. The black bars of transparency. That's what we're going to get. That's all we're going to get here. And that's frustrating as I know it is. Another L, chat. Another L. More L's. More L's for us. Not morels, more L's. Oh my God. So disappointing. Anyway, the Digital Void has been a member for 7 months. Thank you. Says, off topic, does Becky Hill still have to pay income tax on the money she took? Is it income? Or would the restitution be a deduction? LOL, if not. Well, I mean, she has to pay it back, so it's no longer income. I mean, generally speaking, if you have to give it back, you generally don't, income is something you get to keep. So it shouldn't be income anymore. And then Robert Cornell says, I can't believe Trump hasn't fixed everything wrong with the country yet. Hell's bells, he's been in office for almost an entire year. And why don't they fucking follow the law and just get it done? That's my bigger question there. That's my bigger question, which that is a frustrating thing to deal with. That is the frustrating thing to deal with here. So, that is where we end up at right now. And then Radcon Hazard says, truism, what will ever be the name of any bill, government bill or law often does will be used for the exact opposite. True. Very true. True. That's true. Speaks the truth. Bush, good to see you, man. Saying it's far easier to do the damage Biden did than to repair the damage. Yeah, it is. It is. Suffer, chat. Once again, we just suffer again and again and again and again. So, is it gay? Yes. Deal with it. Deal with it. Okay. Now, moving on, we got some other stuff here. This is an interesting thing out of the UK. So this is a guy named Joey Barton. I don't know shit about him because he plays, footy. He's a soccer player out in Britain. Famous soccer player. He is an ex-Manchester City and Newcastle player. But I guess he's also like a soccer manager, which is like the coach. He's like Ted Lasso, I guess. That's... So anyways, this is him. He made some tweets last year, and he made some tweets about these two women, and he photoshopped. They're soccer commentators, from what I understand. One of them is Lucy Ward, one of them's Ini Aluko, and he had made some fucking shit on Twitter, apparently, making fun of them, comparing them to like Stalin and Pol Pot, but also just being rude about him. And then he called this guy a nonce, meaning he's a pedo. Annie's the white one. Funny. Yeah, he's the white one. Yes. He's more like Roy Kent than Ted Lasso. Well, there you go. So, anyways, he made some tweets, and he got charged. He got charged with the crimes of being grossly offensive. He got charged with being grossly offensive. 6 counts of sending grossly offensive social media post. Like, that's a real fucking thing. That is a real fucking thing. Really. Really, really, really. The Nick Fuentes case, I didn't see what that ultimately turned out. Like, I know he's got community service, but I don't have the docs on that yet. But yes, chat, you would all be in trouble if we were in England. So they claim that he had crossed the line between free speech and a crime because he compared the two of them to serial killers Fred and Rose West and called the guy a bike nonce. Oh no, chat. Oh no. So he was convicted of a couple of things. He also went on to say clearly they're like in the Joseph Stalin Pol Pot category, and they've murdered hundreds of thousands, not millions, of football fans' ears in the last few years. Yes. So he ended up getting convicted. And he did this right after the FA Cup tie in 2024 between Crystal Palace and Everton. We all know that one, chat. We all remember that game. So, he claimed the one guy had visited Epstein Island, and he says, if you see this fellow by a primary school, call 999, which is their 911. But anyways, an impressive thing, he had a jury. This guy had a jury here. Think about this. That's an interesting part. This guy actually had a fucking jury. So, what does grossly offensive mean? Well, grossly offensive, it's not punishing bad manners, sharp humor, or unpopular opinions. Grossly offensive is only when it's extreme, degrading, or dehumanizing character, as society whole would say. That goes too far. That crosses the line of what we can tolerate. If that's the actual fucking jury instruction, that's fucking retarded. That is fucking retarded. So, and the brave prosecutors are like, he had subjected 3 public figures to offenses of malicious communications. Oh, the fucking horror. Oh, the fucking horror of it all, chat. Absolute, maybe they deserve to get, like, in Britain, they deserve everything that's happening to them. They deserve all the asset attacks. Oh, my God. So, anyways, this jury cucked out. The jury cucked out. And he ended up actually getting sentenced this past week. And here is him being sentenced. And yes, chat, in England, the judges wear wigs still, and they have their fancy robes. Zero Skill says, why would anyone other than a nonce be offended? Well, that's something to think about there. So anyways, here you go. Here's this judge talking about it. We're going to listen. It's only 2 minutes long, but just listen to how fucked up things are. And think about how fortunate you are to live in the United States of America. Here we go.
Given the gravity, persistence, and impact of this offending, I have no doubt that neither a fine alone nor a community order can be justified, and that the custody threshold is crossed. There will be concurrent terms of imprisonment for each of these associated offences, the sentences for each reflecting your overall offending and recognising the principle of totality. However, applying the imposition guideline and carrying out the required balancing exercise, I'm satisfied that it's not necessary for those custodial terms to be served immediately. In light of the steps you have taken, I am persuaded that there is some prospect of rehabilitation, that an immediate custodial sentence is not...
Rehabilitation for fucking tweets. Yes, I agree. Speaking of fucking nonsense, yes, I bet, this guy dresses like he fucks little kids, which probably means I can't get into Britain now. Who knows at this point? Stabby says, I hope your stupid wig gets lice. Actually, for court with barristers, they have like everyday wigs and robes, and they have their fancy trial wigs and robes. I think, I forget, there's an attorney on the forum I was on at one point who was up in Canada, but was in an area where they still did the wigs and stuff. And he's like, you have your fancy ones and you have your beater ones. This is probably this guy's fancy court gear right here. So,
required to protect either the public or the victims, and that a suspended sentence order may itself operate as a deterrent against any future offending by you. For each of these offences, I impose a suspended sentence order of 18 months duration. On counts 2 and 4, the racially aggravated offences, there will be custodial terms of 6 months, and on counts 6, 8, 9, and 10, custodial terms of 4 months, all such terms to run concurrently, and all suspended for a period of 18 months. If during that 18-month period you commit any further offence, whether or not of the same type, you will be brought back before the court, and it is likely that you will be required to serve some or all of that total 6-month period. That, of course, is not an end of the matter. For the next 12 months, you will be subject to a rehabilitation activity requirement of up to 20 days, and you are required to complete 200 hours of unpaid work in the community.
Britain used to, rule Britannia. Britannia ruled the waves, and Britons will never, ever, ever be slaves. Yeah, well, yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. All cucks. They're all cucks. Yes, this is actually, yes. I mean, if you had the wrong accent but had the wig, people not gainsay you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting how they used to have, like, the wigs and all that meant to be there. But yes, the British, yeah, he's been cocked. JD Vance was 100% correct. Where's the part where he reads the tweets? It's so funny. I've not seen that, Iman Razu. I tried looking for that. I heard it existed. But yeah, I don't know. I'm never going back there. Well, I don't know. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like there's so many things I've said, especially like I hope the Ofcon office gets bombed by some Muslim extremists, like some jihadists go through there with AKs and like Charlie Hebdo, everybody working there because they're all little fucking Nazis. I'm probably not allowed in England. I'm probably not allowed back in England. So yeah. Yeah. But just keep in mind where you live, chat. Keep in mind where you live. We're not all lucky out there. We're not all lucky out there. Oh. Keep it in mind, chat. Keep it in mind. All right, guys. We are on to the last two stories here, and this is hold on here, guys. I'm trying to get this to load. All right. So, if you guys don't know who Bonnie Blue is the porn star who got famous for doinking 1,000 guys in 24 hours. And then she did all kinds of other. I think she's done other things in the meantime. She's tried to set other records. But anyways, she basically, it's all about just getting pounded out and just being a hoe as she does stuff. She been a hoe. Let's see here. Where is but anyways, this is Bonnie Blue. If you guys have never, and we'll use this picture instead. This is Bonnie Blue. She's famous for, doing all this shit with 1,000 guys. Well, they just stood in a line and they just kept on ramming her. So Bonnie Blue is actually in trouble right now. She has been detained in Indonesia for allegations of making pornography. And it's interesting what happened here. So, yep, that's her. She's been on the Whatever podcast. Yep. So Bonnie Blue is in Indonesia, and I guess we'll do this for those of you in chat who are from Rio Linda. Indonesia, if we're going to be on the map, chat, Indonesia is down here. Okay, this is Indonesia down here. All right. Indonesia is in Southeast Asia. And Indonesia is a very chill place. And there's a little more in Indonesia. Like, there you go. Okay, and there's some towns you probably heard of, like Jakarta. There's Bali, which is where all this stuff happened. Right next to Outdoornesia. Okay, well. Anyways, one of the bigger places, though, this is all of, and like here's Bali. This is where everybody goes to party and hang out. Indonesia, guys, is a country in Southeast Asia. And it's got 280 million people in it. It's the world's fourth most populous country, but it is the most populous Muslim majority country. That's right. It is a Muslim majority country. It's like 87% Islam. And that's a big deal, because guess what? They don't like whores in countries like that. They don't like hoes. It's very kind of similar to when you're dealing with it's not like Malaysia where like, Malaysia is like 60% Islamic by religion, but it's still a lot. And if you guys don't realize, Malaysia is right here. This is Malaysia. If you go around Brunei, like this is Malaysia. Here you go. There's Malaysia. So this is a massive fucking region of Muslims. A shitload of them. And guess what they like? Not being hoes. Yes. Be gone, strumpets! Well, Bonnie Blue got arrested by the police, and what happened? Well, she got snitched out by some of her fellow countrymen. Yes, it's a no-ho zone in those countries. Adam says, do they deport in this country? Yes, it sounds like that's an option too for her. So what happened? So she was being seen in public. She's being detained for a bang bus stunt. And look at all these guys. They've been arrested. Here are the police with them. Yeah, these guys got fucking arrested. Cameraman's right there, and there's the Indonesian police. So what happened though? Well, her fellow expats. So Western expats who lived in Indonesia reported her to the police because they didn't want her fucking things up for them. So anyway, Bonnie Blue's name is Tia Billinger. She's famous for having sex with 1,057 men in 12 hours. In a documentary about her career on OnlyFans, she was arrested in Bali for allegedly producing pornography, which is illegal to produce or even watch in Indonesia. Remember, you can't do that. You got to be careful about where the fuck you're going. Don't fuck around. Like, this is Johnny Somali levels of retarded. 15 men, 15 Australians and 2 other British citizens. All men were also found and arrested on site. I wonder what those 15 fucking guys were doing. Anyways, this is Bonnie right here. And they point out the way these expats tracked her down wasn't complicated. They followed her through her bang bus streams. And he says the cops couldn't even understand what was happening. We had to explain it to them, and there are about 20 guys in Bonnie Blue. They just couldn't comprehend it. It's like, what the hell is going on out there? Yes, the Scandinavian prudes ratted her out. And they say that once she was driving around the bang bus and she was bragging about sleeping with schoolies, some of whom were barely legal, and that footage is going to go worldwide, they confirmed the activity was illegal, and they sent in undercover agents to take him down. Well, anyways, this is Bonnie again, so it's like, there she is. She's guilty of violating law number 44 of 2008 concerning pornography. She faces up to 15 years in prison and a fine of up to 6 billion rupees, which I'm sure that's really what problem is there. The prosecutors may apply the ITE law, which is a legislation governing electronic information and transactions. She faced up to 12 years in prison, a fine of 12 million rupees. And the same penalties apply to her, the 2 British guys who were videographers. I mean, it's obvious because I'm sure, think about it. She fucking 15 dudes. Skanky as fuck, yo. Skanky as fuck. So, Jesus. Just don't be retarded when you're out, chat. Traveling the world. They point out, though, the problem is prosecuting is really difficult here because they have to catch her in the act with the cameras rolling, and they got there just before. So they caught her before she was doing it. So she's in a bit of a, and this is her wandering around going like, look at me, I suck dick. This is me. And the guy says, why do I care? I'm not a prude. I'm not judging her, but this is not where we want to be reputation-wise. Bali is not Thailand. Bali is not the Philippines. And he says the business community doesn't want it. The expat community doesn't want it. And the local community can't even comprehend it. It says, we don't want Bonnie Blue's gangbang from Bali being posted and shared around the world. We don't need that kind of publicity. Well, it's like, yeah. There you go. So, anyways, that's going on with Bonnie Blue here. This is very interesting how this is going to work here. The immigration authorities were holding all their passports for all the guys she picked up. Everybody's being detained. It's like, none of yous can leave. Yeah. This is insane. And now, at this point, now she's facing deportation. At this point, she's facing deportation. And if you guys haven't heard this before, this is Bonnie Blue talking about the whole thing here. This is her just talking about her career and performing.
I started off camming. So when you go on these sites online, you can speak to girls one-on-one. I started off doing that for a couple of weeks. Enjoyed it, had good money, liked interacting with people. And then I was like, okay, I might set up OnlyFans because I was aware of it but didn't know too much about it. Right. So started off doing like your generic content with other content creators that was established in my area. And then I quite quickly realized how fake and how edited that is. And I wanted to take it that one step further.
Right, you have a very specific...
She's like, when my fucking happens, it's too edited. Like, I want to be true to the streets. Yes, I'm streaming one-handed, chat. Yes, hold on here. We'll start this back up here. Hand check.
Specific niche, don't you?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So, barely legal, 18-year-olds. Because as I started my content, I realized it was not necessarily relatable to the average person. And I wanted to make my content relatable. I'm just a girl, I'm relatable, I'm sort of the girl next door vibes. However, that does not portray online if I'm doing these rough, over-the-top scenes. And I want people to be able to watch my videos and be able to imagine themselves in it and, you know, connect with it.
Madam Secretary, how many
There you go, guys. There you go. Like, that is... Ugh. So, anyway, she's facing deportation now because she's violating the morality laws. This is, you know, they seize her equipment and they seize the bang bus. They raided the studio where this is all going on. So good job, Bonnie, like being a hoe. Like, she's totally not acting like hoeing it up for the cameras either. So it says, we'll take firm action, deport them, and submit them for blacklisting, said an immigration chief, but who knows if that's true or not. They point out they can't find evidence the group had made pornographic material, but instead, here's the problem. Bonnie Blue is a porn star, so she's making content. She's trying to make a living. So what? Well, she's there on a tourist visa, and she's working without a permit. Remember, when you guys come, do you come for business? Are you coming for business or pleasure? If you're coming for business, you need a work permit, depending on the situation, and breaching local traffic laws. But their passports have been confiscated, and we don't know how long they're going to be detained. And they said authorities were conducting a joint investigation involving the alleged pornography and materials that violate decency. But notice they're gonna fucking deport her ass. But look at her now. Oh yeah, she'd like look at me like I'm sucking on a wiener. This is like Johnny Somali levels of fucking retarded. Johnny Somali levels of retarded here. So she had hired a bus to travel around the film or island to film material during Schoolies Week when Australian teenagers celebrate finishing high school. She was allegedly joined by at least 17 male tourists between 19 and 40 of British and Australian nationalities. Authorities say they seized school Bonnie Blue outfits along with cameras, lube, pink necklaces, and 2 sheets of Viagra pills from the studio. Oh, hold on one second, chat. Hold on one second, chat. So chat, when I use I use them for everything because they're paper towels, but we use them for like wiping off on the paintbrushes and stuff. Bonbon's been sitting down here just chowing down on a whole roll of paper towels. There's like a mess of them at my feet, and I was wondering what was fluttering around hitting me. I kind of felt like leaves brushing up against my feet, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm just like, jeez. Good job, Bonbon. Good job. clean yourself up. I really had to wipe off, yes. It's an excellent source of fiber. Yeah, for All right. So, anyways, let's get back to this here. They said that it was still being investigated, but they're gonna deport her, which, it's like good. She's like, what? Am I a hoe? It's like, yes, you are a hoe. Yes. So she says the bang bus is now over. She said in the video, good job. When asked if she intended on making more content in Bali, she said, subscribe and you'll find out. That's an admission you're doing the shit. Why would you admit to doing that? Making more explicit content in Bali. Why would you admit to making more? That means you have made some. Maybe they can indict you and charge you for that in Indonesia. Why would you say that, guys? Remember, talking to the press is as dangerous as talking to the police. Holy Jesus. Oh, my God. Oh. Oh, my God. Oh. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? So, all right, well. She's a hoe. Hoes gots to hoe. Yeah, they do. I bet her parents are proud. I think she said, like, she's talked with her parents before online, and they pretend to be proud. Oh, no. I'm making my own fleshlight. No, that's what your mom is for. Oh. Yeah, her mom is her manager. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Her mom is her manager. Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yep. So, her mom was there for the train, really? Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes, a momager. Oh, no. Yes, they're all Jewish. Yes, well, the last name Blue. And then Copen Sneed's been a member for 16 months. Says, Sean, she is a woman and from the UK. Fair enough. Fair enough point, mate. Mate. Okay, now moving on from there, guys. This is Whistling Diesel. We're going to talk about this a little bit. So, if you guys have ever watched Whistling Diesel, he is here on YouTube. It's a great channel to watch, actually, because he just buys shit and fucking ruins it, crashes things out. He built a killdozer as one of his things he did. He tried to do like a 24 hours staying inside his killdozer for 24 hours. And he literally bought a Komatsu D355A and did it. He's made all kinds of things. He owns a tank. He owns a Challenger. Chieftain tank. Basically, he buys all kinds of cars and beats the living shit out of them. His Cybertruck durability test was actually pretty cool. But, he's done a bunch of stuff. The things we're talking about, though, are down here. Where you start seeing, I bought a $400,000 Ferrari just to destroy it. He does other things like durability tests in the Ferrari. Never seen him. This is... Now you're like, wait, what? He's buying a Ferrari and destroying it? It's a company car, so no. It's not like he's actually losing the money. It's a write-off. 10.
Hello and welcome to Ferrari durability test number 1. Our last car made it to durability test number 3. Let's take a look at that. Wait, where's the rest of it?
That's all we could find.
Oh.
So anyways, that's what Whistling Diesel does all kinds of goofy shit. He does all kinds of goofy things to the cars. But you notice we're going to start here though, where it starts showing things, because this was I'm pretty sure this was filmed in Tennessee where Whistling Diesel lives. But notice here where we're going to start. Dallas, Texas. Keep this in mind.
Just here to grab some food, but not for me. Look at this guy's truck. We both got red trucks. Okay. Put these in here.
Guys, for those of you who don't know, Ferraris are they're mid-engines and rear engines, so the trunk's in the front if you didn't know that. Capybaras.
What the heck?
The duck is like good friends with them. Just keep it coming. Yep. That's good. That's good. That's fine. Whatever. Yeah, this is the kangaroo theme. That's fine, right? Okay. Perfect.
So anyways, he does all kinds of goofy shit to this, Oh, look, there's some capybaras. Oh, they look these things actually do look pretty cute.
They'll let you just pet them. They'll let you kiss them.
We want them to get in there in the AC and chill out.
I think this would be so cool. They look neat. I mean, really, when you think about it, they look pretty cool. The capybaras. So anyways, all the animals are out there. He does then... This is also in Texas. And we'll stop there because we have to move on to the next Ferrari video. Which doesn't turn out so good. So here's the next one. Waco, Texas. If you also notice, keep an eye on this.
Go. Water.
Yes, chat. This isn't the only thing that's ever caught fire in Waco, Texas.
Get the water. Get the water.
Okay, chat. Now also focus in on this. They're in Texas. They have Montana license plates. Montana does not charge sales tax on luxury cars. So like Bugattis, Paganis, Rolls Royces, whatever it is, Ferraris, McLarens. You don't have to pay sales tax on those like that when the LLC owns it. That's why a lot of these luxury cars are registered in Montana. So here we go. Why are you saying he's a slime ball? Why is he a slime ball? That's a good fucking idea. Don't pay the fucking government. Not paying your taxes is a good idea. So, anyways, his car catches fire.
Hey guys, pull the socks out. Stop the trunk. Pull the socks out.
Good.
Base to the fire, base to the fire, base to the fire.
Hey, Brady, keep the fire off the field no matter what. Hey, drive the car.
Drive the car forward.
Yes, everything. Oh.
Now, obviously, this was all planned. There's no way this wasn't planned. Because look what happens. The van they're following in caught fire too. And it's like, yeah. You don't have to like this guy. You don't have to like this guy.
Oh,
bro. This is all part of it, chat. This is all planned. This is all kayfabe. Why would the van catch fire? Because it caught fire on the corn stalks. But I agree. It's a little sus, isn't it, that they didn't notice the van catching fire? Eric Phone says, who watches this? So, anyway, a Ferrari car is, this is like $200,000. A couple $100,000 for a Ferrari, right? Okay, well. So what did this lead to? Well, remember, so what happens is in Tennessee, they do have sales tax. So what did he get accused of? Well, he got accused of, and he got charged with felony tax evasion. That in January of 2023, he did unlawfully and willfully attempted in manner to evade or defeat any tax in Tennessee in the amount of $500 or more. Sales tax due on the purchase of a 2020 F8 Tributo in violation of Tennessee Code, a Class E felony. He also got charged under his LLC. Also is a Class E felony. He could face up to 12 years in prison total on this. Now, it's interesting when you look at this because what did they bring in for a witness is a guy from the Tennessee Department of Revenue. But here's the problem. Going back to what we know, guys, going back to what we know. Remember, this is occurring in, some of this video was shot in Texas. This car was used in Texas. This car was registered in Montana. You're going to have to prove all kinds of things that he willfully knew about it. But more importantly, how long was this car in Tennessee for? There's a lot of issues about how this would actually work and the legality of this thing. Yeah, was it blown up in Montana? It was burned up in Texas. So they show it a little bit in Tennessee, it looks like, because that area where everything was bulldozed over is like his stomping ground. But obviously they didn't do the primary amount of work in Tennessee. So it's on a car that's not registered to the state of Tennessee. Primarily the video is stuff done outside the state of Tennessee. How does Tennessee have jurisdiction over that? I don't know. So Whistling Diesel did get charged with this. Whistling Diesel also had a gag order placed on him. Yes, he had a gag order placed on him. There was an idea that, he had been poisoning the jury pool. So he was not told to talk about his case. He was given a prior restraint. Shortly afterwards, though, his attorneys appealed it, and the court had to modify it. And the court had to modify, saying he could only talk about things that were public record. So that's currently what he's facing right now. So yes, basically he won his gag order. And yeah, they're saying, oh, well, he could bias the jury. Remember, he's the only one entitled to a biased jury. The state's not entitled to a fair trial. And yes, the state is going after him. And I do agree with America's attorney. This is all probably because Whistling Diesel had an issue a while back with his cameraman. They were filming something and a wildlife officer got splashed with water and they tried to arrest his cameraman, not him. And they were trying to force Whistling Diesel to do a boating safety video in exchange for dropping charges against his buddy. So yeah, I'm not surprised that the government's trying to fuck with him on this, but it really is a vindictive prosecution here. Yeah, so that's kind of Whistling Diesel's saga right now. Not a lot's happened yet, but this is a bullshit charge against him. Clearly is garbage at this point. So. Drunken Gull says, I live down the road from a supercar dealer. Everyone with that kind of car registered in Montana. Yeah, there's a couple states where you can do it, but Montana's a very popular one. Montana has like 11,000 supercars registered in their DMV database, and there aren't 11,000 supercars in Montana. So it is a thing. It is a thing, chat. So Tennessee sounds like a hellhole. Some places do. Some places do. Yes. And that's a thing. Yes. Yes, let's put them in jails over this. Yeah, that's the thing. Isn't that funny? This is what we're going to waste time and effort on, putting a man possibly in prison for this kind of crap. Just absolute horseshit. Just absolute horseshit out there. But that is the kind of basis of it. What's going on is sales tax. Sales tax, chat. They want money from him, right? Yes. Well, they want him for not giving them like $30,000 worth of taxes. They're doing all this over there. The government will kill you for money. Remember that, guys. The government will kill you for money. Remember, Ruby Ridge was all about a 1/4 inch off a shotgun barrel. And because taxes weren't paid. So, if he wins a case, could he sue the state over it? No, won't be anything like that. And that's the other thing, too. The car doesn't exist anymore. The car is gone, so it's not like it's being sheltered or hidden. The car was destroyed in the use of business practices, which is what his channel is about, destroying shit. So it wasn't like he was using it as a luxury item to go cavort around in. He literally used it as a prop, beat it to death, and then lit it on fire. I mean, it's a prop more than anything at that point. So, I'm a good goofy goober. Yeah, Randy never cut down the shotgun. I know that the confidential source did. But that's what his charges initially stemmed over, were a shotgun that was cut a 1/4 inch short. So, yeah. But that is where we are, guys. That is where we are with the Whistling Diesel stuff. I know some people want to talk about it, and I wanted to get something put together so I could show it. But yeah, that's what's happened on Whistling Diesel. And yeah, fuck the government. Fuck taxes like that. Fuck taxes. Absolute garbage for tax. Possible to charge them because they have more guns than you do, and they convinced the jury to indict. And they said this man is bad. He didn't pay his taxes. So that's how they did it. They think Ferrari turned him in for destroying the car. Yeah, I've heard about that. Ferrari doesn't like it when you trash the cars, but you know, that'll be part of discovery. That'll be part of discovery because eventually that's going to have to come out how it got released. So hopefully Ferrari didn't do that. Fuck them if they did. So you bet it's for. Hey, no, Bonbon, stop eating paper towels. Yes, Ferrari would do this. That is a thing. Yeah, sadly, the Scuderia is a problem. Oh. So anyways, guys, that's it for here. We're all caught up now. We got the whole show done. Let's see here. BobTube says, you did what, mate? That's the death penalty to Ertiz Kaba. Ertiz Kaba? I don't know. I can't do it right. Then El Augusto says, my Finnish friend was reading today saying Trump's filing the Constitution, saying they're going to check the social media of everybody coming in. Sovereigns have the right to control their borders. Sovereigns have the right to control their borders. And then, you know, that's one of the defining features of a modern day nation state. You know, Westphalian sovereignty. You know, people don't think Westphalian sovereignty be like it is, but it do. Oh, let's see here. Adam A. been a married for 4 months. Thank you, says. Modern wives are so bad. Husbands watch Bonnie Blue. Yes. Yes. Men watch Bonnie Blue. Yes. Squizgar says haters are just jealous. Then Squizgar also says for $5. What they might get him was apparently he signed a doc when he bought the car that it would be out of Tennessee within 3 days, and it may not have been. That's chicken shit if he was only there for a little while. But hey, just yeah. So fucking horse shit and garbage. It's all it is. It is clearly malicious prosecution because they sent out like basically fucking attack team. Like they had all the fucking deputies wearing their fucking body armor and all their gay shit coming to arrest him. So they fucked around there. Afton's been a member for 13 months, says, scritches for Clyde. Next time he's awake, I'll get him some scritches. Stabby is saying loopholes aren't illegal. Correct. Loopholes are legal. The fact the law is poorly drafted does not make them illegal. You doing something illegal. Yes, they're felonies. Yep. Yep. Yeah, Whistling Diesel owns a tank and a killdozer. Yep, he owns them both. You can actually buy a tank pretty cheap. They're not that expensive, like compared to what you would think. If you want to buy them, like they're not too expensive. Let's see here. Before the war in Ukraine really kicked off, you could buy like T-72s and BMPs out of the Czech Republic. They weren't too cost prohibitive, but they were like Ferrari money, but you could buy them. The BMP would be a little cheaper, or BRDM would be a little even cheaper then. But yeah, it's not impossible to buy tanks and stuff like that. You just got to know where to look. I have the tank.com bookmark ready to go. No, I do not. Shipping is a problem, yes. And yes, getting the barrel and all the gun demilled, that's the easy stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, that is it. We are done here. We are going to head over to potentiallycriminal.locals.com. Join us over there with the promo code FALL 2025. We're going to hang out, maybe watch a body cam. I'm not sure what else we're going to do. We do all kinds of stuff we can't do here and have some fun while we do it. So I hope to see you guys there shortly. And tomorrow night we're going to be talking about probably Russell Greer, some Ethan Klein, some Smash AT, even some Destiny stuff. We're going to get into that a little bit. Pixie looks like she's kind of on the ropes, but in the meantime, once again, what have we learned about Destiny? It's been fucking worth it to see how much of a turd he is. But we'll get into that here. We'll get into a bunch of stuff. Yes. Send Max the link. Well, Max will always have a chance to be at the link. Please, no more L's. They're going to be a lot more L's, buddy. Let me tell you. They're going to be a lot more Trump L's. Be prepared. They're going to do some sex chat. Well, yeah. Have you given up on your idealism involving justice after a grand jury failed to indict Letitia James a second time? I mean, we're getting to the without rule of law stage, but it's if a jury refused to indict, that is the jury saying we don't want to enforce that law on this person. That is one of the functions of a grand jury, to set policy. Believe it or not. So not really. So Russell Greer and Bonnie Blue. Oh my God. Ugh. Oh, and Erica, you're not dead. Thank you for being here. Glad to see you, Erica. Anyways, chat, we're going to end it here. I will see you guys tomorrow, if not over on Locals. And actually, I forgot. We got some mail. And this was something I was told was coming for me. And very hilarious, because you can't find this anymore on Amazon or anywhere online right now. But it is a from Fair Frozen 55. It is a die-cast MD-11, which is the plane that crashed just recently for UPS. So it's kind of funny. Kind of funny. It's a very macabre memento now. I'm sure I could get a lot of money. Like it's a collector's item now. They're gone. So, but we'll put it up on the shelf in a spot of honor. So, with that said, chat, I will see you guys tomorrow. And remember, till next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Like Letitia James, she did it. She's not guilty. James Comey, he did it, and he's not guilty for now. Bonnie Blue, she did it a lot, and she's, I guess not guilty for now. So, it's how it is, chat. Suffer we must. Suffer we must. So, good night, chat. I'll see you later.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes.
The MD-11 has 3 engines. This has 3 engines, so it's correct.
Esoteric works and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws. Tips on hunting and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on
EDW Raptor for $2. And
illegal stops. Just cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy Rick hated yelled at?